Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Generation GC podcast, where we talk about all things Good Charlotte. We go into every song they've ever released, and I'm so excited that for our first episode, we're going to be talking about Little Things from the album Good Charlotte. And my guest here is Gina Catalano. Gina is the founder of Black is the New AP Style, which is this really awesome music website. Gina, can you please say hello?
Hi, everybody.
Gina, I'm so glad that you are on with me today. How are you doing? How are things going for you?
Great. I am so excited to be here. When you pitched this idea to me, I may or may not have screamed out loud because I have always wanted to talk about Good Charlotte in more detail than anybody who wants to listen. So let's do it.
Yes. No, and that's, I put out, or I didn't put out, but I recorded a trailer yesterday that'll go up right before the show launches. And in the trailer, I just talked about how, like, I have so many things I want to say about Good Charlotte that, like, I couldn't even condense into, like, 1 hour of a podcast. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't we just go into every single song ever?
Yeah, that's going to work great for you because honestly, there was, when I was thinking of things to say for this with some of the questions you sent over, I was like, oh, and then I can talk about, that's a different song.
Yeah. Well, hey,
maybe I'll just,
maybe I'll just have to have you on for another episode.
Well, I'm gladly going to be here for all of them if I can.
Amazing. Amazing. So to anyone listening, as well as to Gina, because I don't think I had told you how the show is going to run, the way it's going to work is this. We are going to basically cycle through Good Charlotte's 7 studio albums. So we'll do an episode from Good Charlotte, an episode from The Young and the Hopeless, The Chronicles of Life and Death, Good Morning Revival, Cardiology, Youth Authority, Generation RX. So that way, you know, we're not front loading or back loading and focusing too much on one specific album, but we can kind of mix it up a bit. And I am going to break that up since I wanted to figure out a way to include, like, all of the demos and kind of early tracks, and as well as just like any other Good Charlotte story times. I decided to have, since Good Charlotte went on a hiatus after Cardiology, we're going to kind of split that up. After there's a Cardiology episode, there's going to be like a demo episode, or, you know, some other kind of random bonus mini episode kind of thing.
That's genius. I love that.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited. So, okay, so back to the song. So Little Things is the first track on Good Charlotte's debut self-titled album released in 2000. It was not just the first track, but it was the first single from the album. And it was actually previously included on 2 EPs that they released. Another EP in 1999 and the GC EP in 2000. So we'll dive a little bit more into some of the alternate or earlier versions of the song. But Gina, have you heard any of the old versions of Little Things?
I swear I have, because I remember finding Good Charlotte a few years after the first album came out, and then going back to that and being like, oh, they had a first album, let me listen to it, and finding it that way. So I feel like I heard different versions, like online versus on the physical copy of the album.
Okay.
But I don't remember totally. It was so long ago.
I found them a little bit after The Young and the Hopeless came out. So, like, I bought The Young and the Hopeless, and then a couple months later I got this album. And then, like, a couple months after that, I got my hands on a whole bunch of demos and, like, old tracks and covers and stuff. So I have heard some of, I don't know, because I've heard at least one demo version of Little Things, and I'm not sure which. But we'll dive a little more into the demo version later. So before this song was on the album, a demo version made it to the radio in Philadelphia. They played a show with Save Ferris, which is funny to me because I feel like that's kind of a ska band and Good Charlotte's not, but
yeah.
but that's kind of always what Good Charlotte's been, is they kind of are not like fitting in one place, I feel like. Yeah, so they played a show with Save Ferris in Philadelphia, left behind a demo of this song, which made its way to Y100. So they got some local radio play from that. And the last time, or not the last time, but when I saw Good Charlotte in Philadelphia in October of 2018, they like told that whole story on stage, and they just have so much love for Philadelphia still.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was cool. And I mean, you know, they're from Maryland, so not all that far from Philadelphia, but to know that they have like such an affinity for that city was really cool.
Imagine being that radio DJ that played that for the first time and being like, I did this. You're welcome, everybody.
Right. It was like a contest, like a battle of the bands sort of contest, where it was like, whoever got kind of the most votes or whatever would get like 15 nights of airplay or whatever.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and they won. So they got all this airplay on Philadelphia, I think before they were even signed.
Wow.
Yeah. So, chart notes, the song reached number 23 on the Billboard Modern Rock Tracks chart.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like no one knew them then, essentially. Like, sorry guys, but like no one really knew that album for such a long time.
Yeah, but I feel like now, or at least not even now, but I feel like even by the time like Chronicles of Life and Death had come out, people were like, oh yeah, I remember that song, Little Things.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the song itself, definitely was like the speaking point of a lot of their music versus like that entire technically first album.
Yeah. And we can dive into this more, but I read like a lot of interesting stuff as I was getting ready for this about how their record label, I guess, wanted to push them as this like really clean and polished, like very pop band.
Oh.
Yeah. And that like they cited like Little Things and the Little Things video as like an example of that. So Gina, so I reached out to you about this podcast and you were super excited to get involved and talk with me about Little Things. Why did you want to talk about this song in particular?
I feel like this song brings back a lot of memories for me. You know how you have that feeling when you listen to specific songs and it takes you back to specific times in your life?
Yeah.
Like this song is very much one of the bigger ones for me because Good Charlotte in general was a big part of when I was like 13, 14, whatever age you are when you're in 8th grade. And we had just like a big group of the punk outcast kids back then. and Good Charlotte was our band for the most part. So like this song in general has just a ton of memories attached to it. So I really could talk about it for days.
Yeah. No, I feel like it has a lot of memories attached for a lot of people. And I think because this song does such a great job of like pointing out specific situations.
Yeah, definitely.
Like they talk about, you know, the kids who don't have a date to the school dance. And I'm like, oh, me.
Oh,
like I
me?
never had a date. I never had a date to the school dance.
Me either.
Yeah, no, like I really identified with this song a lot too. And I never had, like none of my friends growing up really, at least, actually no, I did have like one friend that kind of introduced me to Good Charlotte, but it was like, I got super into them. And then, you know, she just kind of moved on to like whatever the next band or artist was. But other than that, it was like I definitely did not have that like social like group where everyone was also like,
oh
yeah, this is the greatest band ever. But yeah, I mean, the song talks about all these little things that have shaped them, you know, a lot about not fitting in and just struggling a lot in high school. You know, the kid that gets picked last in gym class, the kids who have been called a freak. You know, they played sports. I think they played baseball. They might have played football at one point, but like Benji and Joel were athletes.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
But like they were not the cool kids. I remember reading like all these interviews where they would even just like talk sometimes even like in detail about like the bullying they received. And I was like, shit, like that's awful. But it's sadly like I think super relatable for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. I feel like that's why it resonated with so many people, was because even though the lyrics may not have totally applied to them, it still somehow applied to them.
Right. Like the kind of ideas of the song applied for them. So while we're on that note, Gina, what was high school like for you?
Oh no. You know, it was probably my senior year that I was absolutely over it at that point. But I was very fortunate in that I was kind of in a group that was essentially outcast, if that's what you want to call us. But we were friends with everybody. Like my best friend all throughout high school was a cheerleader. Wow. Like but I, dressed like a nut for most of it. So.
Wait. Before we go into anything else, what does dress like a nut mean?
Oh my God. Like the trip pants and I couldn't do trip pants because I'm too short and they never fit me.
Yeah, they were like long and baggy. Like no matter what size you bought.
I could never even attempt to get into them, but I would buy the skirt versions and do like the skirts with the fishnets and the shoes I had a dress code at school, and part of that was like, don't wear short skirts. And I would kind of get around that by wearing like a kind of short skirt, like a trip skirt or a denim skirt. And then I would have these like tights that would be like black and red striped, or like they would have skulls on them or something. And I thought I was so cool. Yes. I did taper down in high school because when I turned 16, I started working at Delia's. So I started wearing their clothes. So not much of an upgrade, but
like a lateral move.
Yeah, move, but yeah, so it was fine. But I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I remember like 8th grade was really the big year. I know we're talking about high school, but that was the big year that we were all like really into Good Charlotte. And that was when I was really heavy in like that punk phase or whatever genre you wanted to label it as. But I remember were you into those cloth like terry wristbands that Topic sold? I had a Good Charlotte one and I wore it every day. It was so gross.
Same. And I think I like didn't want my parents to wash it.
Same.
I'd be like, no, it's like embroidered, you're gonna ruin it.
Right, it's gonna get bad in the washing machine. Yeah, I'm nearly positive I wore that every day. And eventually I did change it out to like a black and white star one. And then I would be outside and then just have the worst tan. Even though I wasn't that much tanner, but like it was there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You did not have to wear it. I got into Good Charlotte, it was like end of 6th grade. And then 8th grade was definitely like a super transformative year for me, where like I got more into them and I started like getting into other bands too. And the summer after 8th grade, like I went away to camp and I wore wristbands all summer, and I came back with like the nastiest tan lines.
I'm so glad we had the same experience.
I love it. So, sorry to date you, but when did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 2009.
Okay, so we're the same class.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah. I noted on here that the song is, I guess it's at least 20 years old. It came out on the album in 2000, but it had been released on the EP in 1999. So I guess it's 21 years old, which is crazy because that's like how old the guys in the band were when it came out.
Oh, so, cool.
Yeah, so I would have been like 8 or 9 years old when it came out.
I definitely wasn't listening to them at 9.
No. But I think I probably would have been 12 when I first heard this song.
I think I might have been too, about like 12, 13. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your like introduction to Good Charlotte? Like, did you find this album or had you like gotten into them when like Young and the Hopeless came out or something?
I was Young and the Hopeless. I want to say the year The Young and the Hopeless came out is when I first heard them, because if I remember correctly, I didn't hear them. I saw them on TRL.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure their music videos were on there, and that's how I got introduced to them.
No, they definitely were on TRL.
Yeah, so that's how I think I first saw them and kept up with them, like 7th grade mark, so whatever that is, 12. And then going into 8th grade when I met all these new people and we all dressed the same and acted the same, then we really got heavy into them, and we went back and did, the first record. And then that was the year that Chronicles of Life and Death came out too. So we were like, we all went to the store together to buy it and stuff.
Oh man. Chronicles of Life and Death came out 8th grade. It was like right before my bat mitzvah. And my dad bought it for me. He's actually going to be a guest. I'm not going to spoil it, but he is going to be a guest for one of the songs on Chronicles. And I'm very excited. Oh
my God, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Like, as soon as I had the idea for this podcast, I was like, well, Dad, you're going to be on this.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the lyrics of Little Things and kind of our interpretations of it.
Yes.
This song to me is very like defiant, which again is like so funny to think back that like their record label wanted to paint them as like so pop and polished. But, the song is like, oh, here are these quote unquote little things that happens that are like NBD, no big deal. But it actually, like, as I was kind of pouring over the lyrics, it feels like pretty deep to me, because it's like, okay, these little things totally add up to one another, and I'm breaking down and I'm not going to stop, but like, this sucks. So, I mean, to me, like, my interpretation, the way I see it is like, maybe if one of these things had happened, it would be like, okay, whatever, but all of the little things add up to each other, and it's like a lot, like it's too much. What's your kind of interpretation of the song?
I definitely agree with that. I feel like, I don't know for sure, but I feel like when this song was written, it was at a point where, all of these little things really still affected them.
Yeah.
And a lot of their songs were angry towards the beginning of their career. So I feel like they were still going through those things and realizing that they were still upset by them. But I feel like obviously now that they understand, and I think they kind of did too during the lyrics of this, is that they understand that this shaped them and that they have to embrace it. But I feel like at that moment, it was a lot for them.
Yeah. And it, I know we were talking about the parts of the song that mentioned like not fitting in high school, but the song gets into financial troubles. If you have read like interviews with them, especially from back in the day, they talk about just not having a lot of money. The song talks about getting free lunch, having to ride the bus to the school because they couldn't afford a car, getting a car, but then it wouldn't start, so they have to walk everywhere. And it also gets into their family struggles, right? Like with their dad leaving them, just straight up leaving them on Christmas Eve. Which, they go more into depth in that in other songs on this record and I think The Young and the Hopeless. But yeah, I feel like this song was written when they were definitely still kind of processing a lot of this stuff. And like, I feel like later on in Good Charlotte's career, they were able to kind of have that like outside perspective and like talk to their fans more in the songwriting. But something like this, I feel like was very much written like while they were still kind of processing it and figuring it out for themselves.
And they were also, they're talking about high school because they were in high school when it happened. So that, looking back on it now, obviously you don't know how to be an adult at that time, and you don't know how to totally grasp things. So like happening to them, it like, I don't think they fully understood it at that point either. So I think they took the song to trying to figure that out by writing lyrics instead.
Yeah. And I think, no, exactly. And I think that's kind of, I mean, that's what a lot of people do with art and with songwriting, you know, is you use it to kind of process and figure things out. Like, I don't know, I would not say I am a songwriter, but, you know, I just put out a book with some poetry in it. And it's funny because, like, I would write all this stuff, and sometimes as I was writing stuff, I didn't even really know what I was talking about. But then I like look back on it like a year later, 2 years, 3 years later, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I was writing about. This is what I was feeling.
Oh, absolutely. I do the same thing. Even if it's just, you know, writing in a journal or something, I look back on it and go, oh, yeah, that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah. So I did want to share a personal story from the song or relating to this song. Little things. So I mentioned my bat mitzvah before, that Chronicles of Life and Death came out right before my bat mitzvah. Yes. And Little Things was my bat mitzvah song.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So, okay. Have you ever been to a bar or bat mitzvah?
I have not. No.
Okay. So a very popular tradition is the candle lighting. You have 13 candles, and each one is dedicated to a different person, and you have to pick a song for them. So you like write a poem and then play the song. And like, you know, I wrote a poem for my dog at the time, and I think we played Who Let the Dogs Out. You know, and yeah. And
that's so good.
Yeah, you know, and so it's like, you know, you do your grandma, your aunt, your cousin, and then usually it's like the last one is like you do something, you do a candle and a poem for your parents.
Okay.
And then traditionally your parents do a poem and a candle for you. And a bunch of my friends did a poem and a candle for me as well. But when my parents, I don't remember what they said in the poem. But I do remember that the song they picked to play was Little Things, which obviously was like great because it's Good Charlotte, but it is like kind of funny because it's like, I guess an adult, I can kind of see the humor in that of like, what does that say about me that like that's song that like
such a defiant song.
Right. Right. No, I mean, but it was good. And I think it was a good choice. And, you know, I mean,
I heard you telling this story just now, and I thought you were going to say you lit a candle for Good Charlotte. So
no, but in high school, I think it was 9th grade, we had an English assignment where we had to write like a thank you letter to someone. Okay. And I wrote a letter to Good Charlotte, and my teacher said it was like the best one in the class.
Did you send it to them?
No. Ugh. I should have.
You should do it now.
Right? Man, if I found it, I don't remember what I said, but you know, I went into, I think, how they helped me and what they meant to me. So that was fun. Do you have any like memories or stories that you would want to share about this song?
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned the bat mitzvah story, because when my group of friends and I were all obsessed with them in 8th grade, we threw a birthday party for Benji and Joel at school.
Okay.
It's so
March
stupid
11th?
Looking back. Yes, 2004.
Love it.
We threw a birthday party for them.
Okay, I definitely baked cakes for their birthday.
Oh, like just how embarrassing looking back on it.
I know, right?
So we somehow got our math teacher in on it, where instead of us going to the cafeteria for lunch, we sat in her classroom and just like, we mostly played Little Things on repeat because that was our jam. And yeah, I think Courtney baked a cake, and we weren't allowed to light candles, so we had to fake it.
Right. And
we sat in my math teacher's classroom and ate cake and listened to Little Things, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's hilarious.
So I remember doing that, but I remember we would sing Little Things at any chance we got. Specifically, I had two really close friends, Courtney and Ashley, during that time, where I remember Courtney and we were both on the yearbook team or committee or whatever they're called. I don't know how we got on it or why we decided to do it, but all I remember is meeting each other at the end of the day and walking up to the classroom where we did it and just screaming little things down the hallway. Like she would be Benji, I would be Joel, and we would switch.
I like that. That's the song.
Because like in the song, like Benji is like talking in the background.
Yeah, which I love about this song.
Yes, so we would just scream it down the hallway back and forth at each other. I don't understand how I don't know. But so we would do that. I remember a time where we had the same English class together, and that's how Courtney and I met. And our teacher was not a fan of us. She wasn't a fan of anybody really, but like she would constantly kick us out of the classroom and we'd have to sit outside in the hallway. And I remember one time we got kicked out and a different class was walking by to go outside to do something, and our friend was in the class. And so we just followed the class out and we're just singing the song back and forth. Like nobody noticed, nobody cared. This is why there's a lot of problems in schools, I think. But yeah, we would sing this song everywhere, and at any given moment, we would sing it in gym class because we thought it was funny because they talk about gym class in the song.
Kids that got take class in gym class.
Yes, and then I remember a bunch of us went to see Good Charlotte with Sum 41 that year.
Amazing.
And of course they didn't sing that song because I don't think they hardly ever sang it live around that time because they already had 2 other albums out.
No, but like now I feel like they kind of play it. No, but I feel like I've seen them play it since because I was thinking about that too. But yeah, like I don't think they played almost anything from the first album when I saw them in 2005 for the first time. But like later on, I definitely have heard little things.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, they did not play it in 2004, and we were very upset. So we sang it the whole way home. We were just constantly screaming this song at places we shouldn't be screaming it. That's essentially my takeaway from the song.
I love it. So some other things I want to get into about this song. It was featured in Dude, Where's My Car?
Yes. I remember that.
What, do you remember? Because I saw the movie like one time. I don't really remember it at all. But do you remember like the scene where this song was played?
Not at all. I remember. The only thing I remember is that we had heard that it was probably on TRL. They probably mentioned it in an interview, and then we all just like went and watched it and didn't relate to the movie at all. Didn't care about it, but waited for that specific moment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. I don't remember like I knew that the film was funny, but I was kind of like, what is this? Like, I don't really care.
Right. It wasn't my style of humor.
Right. It was also like I was kind of a little young, I felt like.
Yeah, I was too young for it, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and watch it now, but I still don't know if I would like resonate with it.
Yeah, same.
It was also in the game Project Gotham Racing.
I'm not a gamer. I have no idea what that is.
Neither am I. This is just something I found out as I was searching things.
But that's interesting that this song made it to things like that. Like I think with Dude, Where's My Car? I think it made sense because the style of the lyrics kind of put into that movie. But I don't understand the video game part.
Yeah, who knows? The guitar riff in the intro, that like da 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 da. It's basically a ripoff of the intro to "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana.
Oh,
and yeah,
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I did not pick up on that myself because I was like 11 or 12 years old at the time, and I was not familiar with Nirvana.
No, me either. Yeah.
When I found that out, I stole my dad's copy of Nevermind. He never got it back. And that was my personal introduction to Nirvana.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And also there was, I forget what song, but there was one song that Blink-182 references an Adams song where that like harkens back to Nirvana too. So I got like excited about that when I was like 12, 13.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think this was necessarily like accidental. There was an interview, I want to say it was MTV, but there was an interview where Benji said that Smells Like Teen Spirit is his favorite music video. So I don't know if that was like intentional or if it was kind of like in the back of their mind and like maybe not intentional, but then they realized it later.
Did anyone ever call them out on it? You know how like today they have, you know, like that whole like Katy Perry, Sarah Bareilles thing where it's clearly the same song. Did anyone ever call out Good Charlotte for doing that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's been brought to their attention. It's a riff. Like, it's a very simple riff with power chords, and like they play it in a different key than Smells Like Teen Spirit, and with like a slightly different kind of pace, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely it's very clearly like the same riff, just like transposed.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone called him out, but I don't think it's anything that could be like copyrighted, really. I mean, yeah, like it's like a super basic power chord progression.
Right.
Although I have a fun Good Charlotte fact that, so apparently they were in music class in high school and they went home and they're playing around on guitar and they come back to school the next day and they're so excited to, this is Benji and Joel, I guess, and they're so excited to tell their music teacher, oh my God, we just invented a new chord. And the music teacher goes, that's a C chord. It's been around since Beethoven.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, but like how many, they're like, you know, they're not like classically trained musicians that learned to play music by reading, you know, a 5-note staff. Like they're jamming out on guitar.
I feel like the teacher's like, I have failed miserably. Right.
I know, but now I'm like, okay, maybe I like find a way to track down that teacher and like ask them about it. Like, what did you think of Benji and Joel Combs? Because that was their last name at the time. What did you think of Benji and Joel Combs? And would you have ever predicted they would turn out to be where they are
like,
now?
No.
Nope, absolutely not. I mean, who knows?
That'd be so cool if you could track down people that like shaped them.
I'm hoping to do that. Like I would love to find a way to reach out to Aaron, who was their drummer on this album, and talk to him about it.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, people like that, like people who directed their early videos or like producers and stuff.
If you can get, I don't know, I'm sure you have the notes of who directed this video, but you need to get them on it.
Yeah. No, it's a great video.
It's so good.
So the video was filmed at a high school in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, which is like right outside of Toronto.
Oh, okay. That's random.
Right. And I looked it up and that's how I learned it was just outside of Toronto. Mm-hmm. But like, I just want to know, like, why was it filmed in Canada?
Yeah.
Like the only thing I could think is like, maybe they were kind of on tour and they had a day off in Toronto. And so it was like, oh, okay, let's film the video here.
But wouldn't they need an advance notice of, hey, we're going to use your high school for a music video?
Yeah.
I don't know how this works.
I'm sure. But like maybe this was like planned in advance.
Oh, like within
you know what
the
I mean?
tour. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe they were like, okay, looking at a tour routing in advance and like, okay, we have a day off. Why don't we use that to film the video? And they just scouted high schools in the area. I mean, that's all I can think of. Like, people like travel for music videos all the time, but like there's high schools like everywhere, you know?
Right. I like to think that it's your tour idea, but they were just punk enough where they just saw an empty high school and they're like, we're breaking in.
Yeah. So this is they have a sign calling it the Waldorf High School. They're from Waldorf, Maryland.
Yes.
That was not the name of their actual high school.
Oh.
But yes, it was La Plata High. So the plot of this video, so Joel breaks in to Principal Donald Gilmore's office. Don Gilmore, for anyone listening, Don Gilmore produced this record. So Joel gets on like the speaker, the speaker talking out to the whole school. He starts calling out the lyrics of the song. The kids are nodding along as he's like, oh, this is for the kids that got picked last in gym class. The kids are like, yeah, this is for me. Mandy Moore plays the ex-girlfriend that broke up with him because he wasn't cool enough. And this, I think, this was mentioned as Mandy Moore was mentioned in the conversations of like, I guess their label wanted them to be this like pop thing. So like, let's put Mandy Moore in there.
So random.
Yeah. But yeah, so the band basically just causes a ruckus. They eventually break into the school gym. They set up on stage, start playing. And then there's this absolutely wonderful hero moment where the principal tries to come in and stop them. And the janitor shuts the door so the band can keep playing.
What a great janitor. Everybody needs a janitor like him.
Oh my God. I love that. Like, just what a great moment.
Yes, agreed.
I love that. And, they like smash their guitars. They're throwing around their equipment. And then we get outside and they're changing the sign in front of the school so it spells out Good Charlotte.
Yes, I loved that part because that was the part that all of us talked about, like attempting to do at our own middle school. We're like, let's change the words. And, you can't get access to that thing. So, yeah, but we always thought about doing it.
Yeah. I want to also talk about their outfits in this video.
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, so Benji's outfit first. So Benji was apparently a big Sex Pistols and Sid Vicious fan. He referred to himself as Kid Vicious, which I thought was so cool and badass. So that was also how I first listened to the Sex Pistols. It's like, oh, Benji Madden likes the Sex Pistols.
That's how I started listening to them too, was hearing interviews with them talking about them. Yeah.
Yeah. His hairstyle, it's black and like spiky, and he has this like neon pink shock, I think, just this like big pink strip. He's wearing like a black shirt, this like chain necklace, and these red plaid pants.
Those were so cool back then. And I never had a pair because, like I said, couldn't fit into them. But boy, did I want to.
I think I had a plaid skirt.
Of course.
Yeah. But I don't know if I ever had plaid pants. I would go on to buy a lot of like printed pants. Like there were multiple zebra print pants. Like,
oh no.
Oh yeah. There were like 3 different pairs of zebra print pants. I don't think I ever had plaid pants though. I also love just Benji's like facial expressions throughout this video, like where he like curls his lip and you can tell he's just trying to be this like badass punk.
And I mean, I think he did it well. That was something I always loved with him, was that he was very much the like criminal of the group.
Yes. Joel is wearing this like white muscle tank top. And like not to say he's out of shape, but he's not like a jacked up kind of guy.
Right.
Billy is wearing these red pants, these bright red pants.
Those were, I mean, all their outfits are great in this video, but I remember those pants, like, specifically.
I want to know, like, how much was, like, a stylist picked out these outfits and how much was just, this was, like, what they wore, because this is like what they wore at that time,
Oh yeah, this is what they always looked like. So yeah, I wonder if it was a stylist choice or if this was just they had it in their closet, they showed up on set.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was like they showed up on set with like a couple outfit options and the stylist was like, this and this and this.
Can you imagine being a stylist for like that time?
Right. For like a video like this. I did remember seeing a behind the scenes video for, it was like a video off of, either Good Morning Revival or Cardiology, where they talked about like some of the styling, and they showed their shoes getting like they wore Converse in this video, but the shoes, they like steamed them, so they were like perfectly clean.
Oh my God.
Somehow I feel like there was not as much attention to that kind of detail in this, but I don't know. I mean, it was done very well. You know what I mean? Like there's all these like close up kind of fisheye angle shots, but like it's very intentional. And I feel like you're supposed to feel like you are running around this school with Good Charlotte and kind of taking things over and becoming the ones that are like the heroes here.
Yeah, I feel like the music video very much wants you to feel like how they felt in the song and the creation of the song. So I think that, the intentional camera movements really apply to that.
It feels like, this song is about feeling like you're not cool or anything, but this is kind of the beginning of them. Like the video, I think, is kind of the beginning of them being these rebels that suddenly people are like, oh shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
So one thing I also want to note about the song, so when they talk about, having to ride the bus to school, 55, yes. So back in the MySpace days, I was talking to someone, another Good Charlotte fan who was from Waldorf, Maryland. Oh. And this person told me that there's no bus 55 in Waldorf. And I was like, what? And then I realized 55 was probably the school bus number.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Like I took the bus to high school and I was like bus 5, so I feel like school bus numbers are generally not related to like city buses.
Yes, that makes sense now, because I remember I would occasionally have to take the bus home in high school, but I never knew the bus number, so I would literally run around the school to find my one neighbor and be like, wait for me, I have to take the bus today.
Yeah, I went to a high school that was like in a different town. It was a private school, so like I took the bus pretty much every day until I got my driver's license. And we were bus 5.
That's so funny that they were like, that bus doesn't exist.
Yeah. I just remember being like 14 at the time and talking to someone over AIM, because I would talk to all these people over like AIM or MySpace.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And they would be like, bus 55, there's no bus 55 in Waldorf.
Like, but they're in high school. They're not going to take, right. I never had to, there's no such thing as a city bus to high school in the suburbs out here. But
no, but like, I went to a private school and there was a mall across the street from our school. And I did know a girl that would take the bus from the mall, take like the local NJ Transit bus that left from the mall. Cause I guess that was more convenient and
interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to note that there is a remix of this song on their Greatest Remixes compilation.
Oh, I know. I downloaded it. It's the one with Patrick Stump, right?
Yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It was amazing. I mean, I love Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy is from my hometown. I will support them no matter what they do, even if, I don't like a new album, Mania. But
Mania grew on me. Mania
did grow on me. Yes, I will admit that. But I remember first hearing it and being like, "Oh, guys,
yes, oh, honey, child."
Right.
Yeah.
But yes, I remember the Good Charlotte Greatest Hits coming out and Patrick being the remix. And Patrick is just so talented in everything that he does, and I don't think people realize how much stuff he does. But I think that remix was perfect. But I may also be biased.
I will be honest, when I first heard this Greatest Remixes album, there were a couple like original tracks, like new tracks on there, like the song Anxiety. I'm super excited to eventually talk about on this podcast, but I was not a fan of like most of the remixes. I think this was also like, even when it was like someone like Patrick Stump, like I liked Fall Out Boy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just like, I definitely didn't grasp like the concept of remixes or any kind of like dancey kind of music at all at that
See,
point.
I understand that. I think like I'm thinking back in my head of all the remixes that I do have,
Yeah.
you know, have purchased and downloaded or whatever. And it's only because it's attached to a person that I like. Like there's a
Right.
Fall Out Boy remix I have with Cobra Starship where like
Right.
I only downloaded it because we liked Cobra Starship because that's what you did.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I mean, but I see like there's a local-ish guy around here called Gold House who does remixes of other people's songs. He's great. He's amazing. I've seen him perform and he's just such a talented guy. But yeah, he remixes all the time. And I think watching him live really changed how I appreciate remixed music now.
For me, it was like, I heard Ghastly's song We Might Fall about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that song, apparently, like the instrumental for it, originally started as a remix of Jimmy Eat World's Sweetness.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a friend pointed that out to me, and like he sent me like the original Jimmy Eat World Sweetness remix.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh. And that kind of set me on a rabbit hole. And I've since, you know, over the past like 3 years, I've become like a lot more kind of interested. I think I'm so much more interested in not just remixes, but like any kind of electronic and dance music.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I know that like Benji and Joel, they had been DJs, and they did, when they did the Madden Brothers, which I think I'll definitely find a way to get into all the Madden Brothers stuff on this podcast.
You should. Yeah.
I think it's like not all on Spotify though, because they did a mixtape that I heard the mixtape and I was like, nope. I like didn't like this mixtape. But it was like rap kind of. I was like,
I don't think I ever heard it.
Yeah, it like they didn't put out a CD, like it was just like an online mixtape. But then they put out the album Greetings from California. That was like a physical release. But actually, I'm gonna go on Spotify right now.
Yeah, see if they're in there. That's interesting.
It's not on Spotify. So I don't know if that, I don't know why. Like, I don't know if that was a thing with their record label and they wanted to take it down or what. Like, I don't know. I'd be curious to learn more about like the whole Madden Brothers thing. I mean, that's something I can definitely kind of dive into more on this podcast for sure.
Definitely.
So, Gina, I want to know, we've talked about remixes, but how has Little Things in particular held up for you over time?
It's funny because I just, after deciding to do this, rewatched the music video and have re-listened to it a few times. And I mean, I looking back on it, don't understand why I related to it so much.
Okay.
Because nothing in the lyrics, like I was never picked on, my dad didn't leave me at Christmas. Like,
right.
I didn't relate to any of this, but I think because of just enjoying that genre in general and wanting to be angry in that time frame,
sure,
that I was just like, this is great. I understand all of this. But now I'm like, I didn't do any of this stuff.
I mean, do you think it was maybe like you felt like you understood kind of the spirit of the song, even if you didn't relate to like exactly what they were talking about?
Oh yeah. I think that in general with this song and with, the album is that you don't have to relate to it. You can just understand it. And I think they did a great job of that. And I think the music video really took it home of, it wasn't it doesn't look like a normal high school at all. And that's not what it looks like to anybody else. But at the same time, it did at that time where it was like, my classroom does look like this. And I wish we could do this. And I wish we could go do that. So I just think that the way that they went about creating everything for this song and video, just, you didn't have to relate to it. You could just enjoy it.
I think and as I was saying before, like I definitely related to a lot of the stuff of like being picked on. You know, my parents are still very happily together and, you know, financially have not, you know, have always been pretty secure.
Right.
But I think especially as I was rewatching the music video, I really feel like the music video embodies so much of like what I love about Good Charlotte, which is that like they were not the quote unquote cool kids. You know, they didn't fit in to any box and they still really don't. But like in this video, like they are the heroes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And because they are these like sort of badasses that are a little different, everyone all of a sudden is like, oh, okay, you know? And it's not that they win by fitting in. It's they do their own thing, and like that is so effing cool. Like that's what's awesome.
Absolutely. And I think for our generation and finding them towards the beginning of their career and stuff, this was very different than a Blink-182 or a Green Day. This was much more conversational, and it was stuff that you may not like. I don't think, even if, you know, if a friend's dad had left on Christmas, I don't think it would have been a topic of conversation. It'd be something they'd keep to themselves back then, you know? And then Good Charlotte is like, our dad left on Christmas. He's a dick. And then just like, oh, we could talk about this stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that's something that's huge. And I love Blink and I love Green Day too. But
absolutely.
I feel like Good Charlotte and I mean Blink, you know, they have a song like Stay Together for the Kids, but
right.
And they have Adam's song, you know?
Ugh, that one is so sad.
Yeah. But I feel like in general, I definitely agree with you that I feel like Good Charlotte, a song like this kind of was a lot more conversational versus I feel like, you know, those, especially like Stay Together for the Kids, it very much felt like okay, this is a thing that happened to me. Whereas I feel like this song and this first Good Charlotte album, it was such a like, okay, this is a thing that has shaped who I am and I want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It definitely opened up dialogue it opened up dialogue for my friend group, you know?
Yeah.
Like hearing the way that they talked about stuff in their records, and then going back to just being friends and being like, oh, I didn't know that this happened to you. And like that was something that we didn't do when we were listening to Blink or Green Day or something. It was just, wow, look at this great piece of art.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like, I mean, supposedly, and obviously I'll get more into this when I do the episodes talking about those songs, but, you know, supposedly, you know, when they put out Motivation Proclamation, which talks about like basically being so like depressed and unmotivated that like you don't want to get out of bed, they got a lot of, especially from that song, which is the first record as a whole, they got a whole lot of responses to that. Where they realized like, oh, people are like really helped by our music. Like they really connect with it. And apparently that like was a lot of the push for them to write Hold On.
Oh, yeah.
Like
that was such a powerful song.
Yeah. Which, and I have it's gonna be, and I don't know when I'm going to record it. I haven't scheduled it yet, but I have, I already have some cool ideas for how I want to do the episode for Hold On, because that's definitely going to be a special one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, okay. So just a couple more questions for you, Gina. So what has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and like, how has that changed over time? Like since you first heard this song 15, 20 years ago? Yeah.
I mean, it's weird to think that these songs were created so long ago, but that you relate to it too, of that we were fans, like almost not at the very beginning, but almost towards the beginning of their career. And, you know, we don't know them personally, but to be able to watch them do everything that they have done up until this point is just, it's like watching a friend succeed.
Yeah.
And I think
exactly.
it's so cool that, you know, like my friends and I got to go see them in 2004 and see like the very beginning of that Chronicle of Life and Death phase. And then, you know, I saw them just a few years ago. I think it was 2016 at Warped Tour.
Yep, 2016. That was like the day that you and I met. I think that was Indiana Warped Tour.
No, it was Milwaukee. That was the day we met. Oh my God.
Yeah. It was Milwaukee. No, because I mentioned Indiana because Indiana was their first show on Warped Tour in 2016 and their first performance on Warped Tour in like over a decade.
Yes.
And it was like, I mean, I watched them because I was on Warped Tour that summer and I watched them almost every day. But like seeing them in Indiana was like,
that must have been incredible.
Oh, it was absolutely the coolest thing.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee was probably about a week after that. And I remember I was working for a different publication at the time and we were doing interviews all day. So we were up in the press room, and the way Milwaukee was that the press room was above the main stage, but behind it in like these like media rooms. And so I remember we had just finished our last interview. It was with Jess Bowen of the Somerset.
Oh my God.
And Travis Clark of We the Kings. I was interviewing Jess, and Travis comes in and totally just hops in the interview. And it was just such a fun time. But literally we finished up, we packed up, and the other person was bringing the stuff to the car, and Good Charlotte comes on, and I was standing like up, we were up like 3 or 4 flights. And so I was like on this balcony watching them from behind and just like sitting there, like starting to cry because I hadn't seen them in 10 years or more. And just being like, I can't believe that they're back. I can't believe I'm seeing them again. And they were, you know, it had a smaller set, but they were playing all the classics. And I'm like, sitting there by myself, like, this is so amazing. And then I met you.
Yeah. And I remember that day, because Good Charlotte would usually play kind of towards the end of the day, and I was working for a nonprofit on the tour, so like I had a job on the tour, and I remember Milwaukee, they were playing like, I want to say it was like right before we had to pack up our tent and tear everything down, and I'm just remembering like sprinting over to the amphitheater with my camera to try to get a few photos of their set. And like watching like a few songs and then sprinting back to the tent so I could like do my actual job. No, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was Sum 41 played that show too, and that was like, that's literally who I saw in 2004. So I remember sitting there and being like, this is such a weird situation that I'm so glad I'm sitting here for.
Yeah, no, that was Warped Tour. That was a good year for Warped Tour. Like we had Yellow Card on the tour.
Yes. Yep.
I remember the first day of Warped Tour. Like I get back to my bus, and one of my coworkers, one of my tour mates, is like, "So, did you watch Yellow Card today?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Oh, well, Yellow Card announced on stage that they're breaking up."
Oh yeah.
Like my God. On the first day of Warped Tour, and I was just like,
oh my God.
What?
I totally forgot about that. Oh my God.
Yeah. No,
I've had a lot of weird run-ins with Yellow Card. It's very, that's a band that like, I literally physically run into them and I'm like, and then I'm just an embarrassment, like every time.
I met Ryan Key in Times Square once. They were playing the, I think it was the Best Buy Theater at that point, with All Time Low. It was like their kind of first tour back after Yellow Card had come back from hiatus. And I like meet Ryan Key in like the middle of Times Square, and I just like look at him and I'm like, hi, can you sign my t-shirt? And he was like, sure. And like, I mean, I've met people who are arguably more famous than Ryan Key, but like that was, I feel like that felt like I've met Good Charlotte, but like that felt like the most starstruck I've ever been.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because it was the middle of Times Square.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be a different feel.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's right. You and I have both interviewed Billy, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah.
My interview never went up, but I did interview him.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Okay, so Gina, so do you have any last words about little things, about Good Charlotte, about yourself, or Black is the New AP Style?
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if this is a song that maybe a lot of people haven't heard because it was the first record, I feel like you really need to go back and take a listen to it and rewatch the video if you've watched it or haven't watched it, because it's such I don't even know how to describe it. It's such a fun time. Even now, even if you don't relate to it, even if you aren't a fan of Good Charlotte anymore and you were at some point, like, it's just such a nostalgic feel to go back to it and to appreciate it a little differently as an adult now. So please go listen to this song. Also, please check out my website, blackisthenewapstyle.com. I do a lot of entertainment related interviews and guest blogs and features. So come hang out.
Amazing. Yeah, Gina, thank you so much. So can you tell us, please, where people can find you / Black is the New AP Style on social media?
Yeah, you could find me personally if you want to. My social media handles are Gina Christine with 2 A's and 2 E's because the other one was taken. And then Black is the New AP Style. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Amazing. Thank you, Gina. And to anyone listening, you can find Generation GC on Twitter and Instagram. It is at Generation GC Pod, POD, on both of those. My name is Molly. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hudelson, MHUDELSON, on both Twitter and Instagram as well. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time.